Do you have what it takes to be a great leader? Are you a philosopher king? Hello, my name is John Rose. Today is June 16th, 2018. One day away from my 64th birthday tomorrow, and it's forecasted to rain, so this may be my birthday salute to everybody. And I already have several videos in the hopper. This will be ready by Wednesday. I've got that many ahead of me that need to come before them. As many of y'all know, one of my favorite stories, one of my favorite allegories, is that of Plato's cave. Excuse me. One of my favorite videos I did was Escaping the Matrix of Evil, where I explained 4 different allegories, Plato's cave being one of them, and showing how they all use the 3 most important pieces to my puzzle. And I like Plato's cave for many reasons, because it really does illustrate what we're going through now. And if we base things on what Plato would say, is that the only people who are qualified to be our leaders are those who come out of the cave. It only makes sense, right? That's why I said before in my other videos that if I was a philosopher king on this planet, there'd only be one law, that everyone had to have a minimal biophoton level, and then all of the criminals and all of our politicians had to have a maximum biophoton level. If you're still not behaving properly and you got enough biophotons in you, you don't have a serpent in you, then we got to make sure those levels are as high as you can get. And of course, the reason why all politicians had to have a maximum biophoton level, because you can't get it unless you come out of Plato's cave. So what do we've got now on this planet? Are there any great leaders anywhere that are out of Plato's cave? Now, there are many layers in Plato's cave, and what we see now are people who are doing something about some of those layers, and they're criticized because they don't have the other layers. At this point, I guess we got to count our blessings to a degree for some of us, depending on who we have as our leaders. And we're always going to struggle until we have a philosopher king become our leader. And when that day happens, this person will be a great educator. They'll understand why we get sick. They'll have the solution to our problems. They'll help us reach the tipping point. And when that day occurs, we won't need any more leaders. The mob can rule at that point and won't be a problem. We won't need a government. I said before in Satan's secret weapon that our government is a subsequent need because we're sick and we're disconnected. The fall of mankind allowed us to eat things we shouldn't eat. Now we got a serpent in our belly. It destroyed the nutrient that feeds our senses, our 6th sense. Now we are lacking one of our senses. And that's the problem that we face. So the only person who can lead us out of the mess we're in are those who've gotten out of that cave, that they understand the importance of the fall of mankind. Those are going to be our only true philosopher kings. And until then, most people that are our leaders don't know are addressing any of those other levels in Plato's cave. So one of the main levels people find in Plato's cave is they go up a level and they go, look what I found. Got a fox guarding the hen house. Well, wait a minute. There's some wolves guarding the foxes. How many layers are there? Who's behind the curtain? How many layers are there in this onion? How do we know when we're not being played? Now, this is important to understand because the powers that be beta test us all the time for the simple reason that we are the Goliath in this equation. Optimistic, too optimistic, poppycock. If you don't understand the power we possess, if we can just wake up, you don't understand what the powers that be understand. That's why they're always beta testing us. And you never know when something might be a ruse just to pacify us, so we will lose our momentum and our steam. Again, it's not always easy to figure out what certain people are doing if they're going to be trying to address certain levels in Plato's cave. It's real difficult to evaluate things. So, all we can do if we want to get out of this cave of ignorance is play our role on the hero's journey. Keep spreading this powerful message that we are the Goliath once we wake up, and that won't happen unless we reach the tipping point. That's why it's so important that we understand that we play the significant role in this whole equation. I've mentioned many times We make mistakes. We become damaged. Now we have a whole group of needs we shouldn't have to worry about, but we do. And that can change if we realize the role that we play collectively. Individual problems are a piece of cake for most of us, because most of those problems are self-inflicted, and that makes us the hero when we do something about it and change what we do. But lots of our problems are on a collective level. And they're only going to work when we reach a tipping point so we can all change our collective mentality. It's our collective shadow that keeps us where we are. It's that collective mentality that keeps us where we are. And there's only one way to change our mentality. It's to change the condition of all four of our current status factors. And that's where these two groups of needs come into play, realizing that that other group of needs should not exist and only exist because we're making mistakes. So there will come a day when we wake up to that reality. There will come a day when we stop making those mistakes and we won't have those other subsequent needs. And when that day happens, you know, we're all in for a treat.